Hostel is a 2005 horror film written and directed by Eli Roth. It stars Jay Hernandez, Derek Richardson and Ethur Gudjonsson. It is exclusively produced by Quentin Tarantino. When three backpackers set off to investigate enticing rumours of a Slovakian hostel in a city populated by lusty, sex-hungry women, they find themselves becoming victims to an organisation that kidnaps and kills tourists for a price. Welcome to Renewed Perspective. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are reviewing the 2005 horror movie Hostel. Now, I re-watched this very recently. I picked up a DVD copy of it from a charity shop and wanted to give it another watch because I've always enjoyed this movie. I thought it was always really well done. This is the Blu-ray here. I also have some a steelbook I want to show off as well later. I've always really enjoyed this movie. I've always thought it had great cinematography, and I just generally feel the story it tells is actually very deep in narrative threads. And I think a lot of people don't give it the credit it deserves for telling a very good and deep, grounded, rooted, kind of fucking scary as hell horror story. Yeah, this film really does have a good job of introducing you to the characters and making you kind of not particularly like them to begin with. They're kind of this kind of, you know, drug and sex hungry dudes from America that just want to like get laid and do drugs and just party all the time. But the film is really good at like developing their characters, and you get to know who they are, and you actually believe as the film goes on that they're good people at heart. You know, like they're young, they want to have fun, but deep down they are good people. This film is pretty much a movie of two halves. The first half is introducing the hostel and the characters and the kind of environment and vibe of the locations in this movie, and it does it a really good job of that. Obviously, you've got these gang of kids that want to just kick the hell out of you if you don't give them bubble gum. You've got all these women that just want to be with these men, and it's almost like kind of too good to be true in this setting. And the boys in this movie kind of are a bit blind to it. They don't really understand that this is a bit too good to be true, and obviously it leads to the horrible things that unfold later in the film. But this film is very good at building a tense, suspenseful build-up and basically creating characters and making them eventually kind of feel for them and kind of root for them in the end. And that's what I love about this film. It presents their characters in a particular light in the beginning, but they are almost, you feel that, especially the lead character Paxton, you definitely feel differently about him by the end of the movie, and you're kind of rooting for him in that third act. And it's just great. The film is really good. I think Eli Roth is great at kind of slowly developing characters. So yeah, that's one of the big highlights for this film. I think generally all the acting performances are really well done. They are kind of believable, and you really get inside the characters' heads, and you do kind of understand what they're feeling in the moment. Like the scene with Josh being tortured is absolutely horrific. Not just based on what you see or what you don't see. It's just his performance is unsettling, and it just really gets under your skin. And I do feel that actor needs to be given more props for his performance in Hostel, because I think he does a terrifying good job of someone that is basically being chained down and being tortured. It's really horrific, and I do think this film has a great sense of that, of getting under your skin and making you unsettled. And if you look in the history of this movie, the story of this film is somewhat loosely based on the thing that Eli Roth found, where you could go into a room somewhere in Eastern Asia and pay like $10,000 and shoot someone in the head. That was a real thing that he came across, that he read about in some newspaper or something, and he based that kind of loose little kind of anecdote is what led to this film. And it's scary, because this kind of stuff probably does happen on a daily basis, you know, in the underbelly of society, and that's a scary part of this film. But yeah, overall, I think this film in general just has a great location, beautiful location. The cinematography is absolutely outstanding, and I think I feel like it really kind of brings you in to where they are in this Slovakian town. I think it's a great location, and we did get in a bit of hot water with this movie as well when it concerns like the Slovakian government not really liking this film at all, pretty much straight up hating it, and it kind of almost ruined their tourism in a way. But Eli Roth has defended this film, saying that, you know, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre happened and people still go to Texas and stuff like that. Probably gonna watch this review to see what I feel about the practical effects and gore in this movie. It is just savage and ugly, and I think it needed to be for this kind of movie. And it has a great balancing act of on-screen violence and implied violence, and I feel they're both as effective as each other. What you don't see is almost as horrifying as what you do see, because your brain does like to fill in those just violently nasty gaps that you obviously can't fill in with your eyes, and I think this film does a great balancing act there. But there are some nasty practical effects here. The scene where Paxton gets his fingers cut off by the chainsaw literally had me going, "You mother!" Yeah, it's one of those scenes where you actually feel those fingers come off, and it's horrific. This film doesn't compromise with its violence at all. It's straight up practical effects, and it looks absolutely disgusting. It has one of the most sickening scenes of brutal eye violence I think I've seen in any movie. Yeah, that blowtorch to the eye scene is absolutely fucking savage. But yeah, I love this film for going that extra step. Maybe compared to recent films, this film is quite tame in retrospect for its gore, but at the time it was hailed as like the most goriest, sickest movie ever made. I do feel this film has a lot more going for it narratively than its contemporaries at the time, and I do feel that the torture porn label that it has unfortunately been stamped with kind of undersells this movie, and I think it's a lot more than some of its parts. I think it's very intelligent on how it develops its characters, and I feel like what it does show and what it chooses not to show in equal measure really adds to the horror in this movie, and where it's grounded in a real life thing makes it even more terrifying. So yeah, that is Hostel. I still love it now. I think it's a 9 out of 10 horror film. I think it's just bang on. There's not many in terms of negatives that I have. Some people might think that the opening is a bit long. It's like about an hour before we get into any nasty, gory shit. But I do feel that hour in the beginning kind of is a great means to show us locations, the people in this Slovakian town, kind of the shady goings on, and also to introduce us to the three main protagonists that we are following this movie with. I think that hour is integral to this story, and the horrible bits, you know, halfway through wouldn't be so horrible if we didn't kind of like latch ourselves on to Paxton and his friends. But yeah, Hostel is great, and I think if you go into it with a bit more of an open mind, and know that it's a bit more intelligent than you think, I think you might actually have a good time with this film. I think you might enjoy it more than you think you will. It's not straight up torture porn in the most black and white sense. I think it's a lot more intelligent than that, and I think it's one of the best mid-2000 horror films that came out in that decade. So these are the editions that I have. I have the standard unseen edition of the DVD. This is the version I watched for this review. The video quality is pretty decent, all things considered. This is actually quite an old Lionsgate DVD, but it actually was pretty decent. You know, I didn't feel we lost any detail with the DVD transfer. I was watching it on a 4K player and a 4K TV, so that might be the reason why it still looks pretty decent. Recently picked up the Trilogy box set, so this is from the Trilogy box set, the Blu-ray. It's still an old transfer. It's still one of the first Blu-rays for it to come out. I think it's the only Blu-ray you can get in the UK of this release. From what I can tell, it has no special features, whereas the Blu-ray has quite a few commentaries and some featurettes and whatnot, which is disappointing because I would have hoped it would be all on one disc. It might still be all on one disc, but it just hasn't mentioned it here. But I haven't put this in yet to see if it's got the special features, but that's the Blu-ray. And the creme de la creme that I want to show off, because I really, really like this release, I thought it was beautiful, is the Hostel Steelbook. Now this is I believe this is a European exclusive. I don't even want to even guess whether it's from Germany or Italy or wherever. If you could like maybe tell me where this is from, it'd be cool in the comments. But yeah, this is the Hostel Steelbook Blu-ray. I just think it looks fantastic. Open it up. It's the same Blu-ray as the UK Blu-ray, pretty much the disc. You've got the picture of Paxton with the chainsaw and the helmet, which is a shot you don't really see in the film. He doesn't carry the chainsaw out of that room, which is a bit weird. I've always found that a really strange production shot when he doesn't carry that chainsaw. But yeah, that is Paxton there. And when you flip it over, it just looks great. Again, like, you know, black and red with that yellow highlight for the logo. I just think it looks great. You've got the torch chair there, blood. You've got the knife on the floor. You've got all the utensils here that they use to torture people. But when you bend it in the light, it just looks great. I just really like this Steelbook. I think it's fantastic. So yeah, that's the 3 editions that I own for Hostel. So yeah, guys, let me know what you think about Hostel. And like I said, I think it's just a great horror film. I loved it when it first came out. I still love it now. I think it's wonderful. Let me know in your comments down below what you think. Do you like the sequels? Because I'm a bit lukewarm on the sequels. I think I prefer Hostel Part 3 more than Hostel Part 2. But I digress. I might do a review of Part 2. I'm not too sure yet. But yeah, Hostel is just a great film. And let me know what you guys think in the comments. I will see you next time, I suppose. Bye.